Binge the full week of The Ray Taylor Show ad-free over at inspireddisorder.com/plus.
This is The Ray Taylor Show.
The Player. It's a movie, classic film, Robert Altman film, written by Michael Tolkin, the writer of Gleaming the Cube. The classic skateboard film, Gleaming the Cube, is a movie that I have never seen before. I think I've seen parts of it, or maybe I watched it a long, long time ago, because this movie opens with this really great, long one-shot that is just beautiful. And there's something that makes me think that I watched at least that scene before as being one of the classic kind of one-shot scenes in a film. But as I'm reviewing and talking about classic films I have not seen, I watched a bunch of Whoopi Goldberg films this week to do my top 5 Whoopi Goldberg movies, and this was one of her films that was also in the category of a classic that I had not watched. So I did, and a great movie. Whoopi is not a big part of it. She plays a detective. It's mostly Tim Robbins is kind of the main character. He plays a studio executive who's receiving death threats from a writer who wrote a script that he rejected, and he's kind of fearing for his life. And the one shot at the beginning of this movie is basically they're at the studio in the offices, and the camera is kind of pushing in and out of these different conversations that are happening as people are going in and out. We're seeing all these different things happening, all of the people working and moving around in the studio, trying to get things working and going. And really great. I mean, that camera work in that one shot is amazing. There's a lot of shots that use like windows that are shooting through windows, where the camera is actually pushing through conversations. This camera is weaving in and out while telling this story, just giving you different perspectives and different viewpoints and different ways of framing situations and seeing situations as this camera is kind of going in and out. And I appreciate that quite a bit. The story is also really fun. It's like almost like a meta take on neo-noir. I mean, it has a neo-noir vibe to it, but it also has like a very meta feel where this main character, this Tim Robbins character, is getting these death threats from these postcards, these random postcards, and he thinks he knows who it is, and it's this whole thing where it's like this mystery of who is it, and is it the person that he thinks it is? He ends up killing somebody who he thinks it is, and it turns out that was wrong, and now he's being charged with murder of this person, which ends up being part of this movie script. Like, it all ends up becoming this thing where the guy who makes movies becomes the movie. And there's also a big discussion in this film that deals with the differences between the business side of making movies and the artistic side. There's this battle between the artists and the business, the capitalism and the creativity of humanity is being exploited in this film. Obviously, you have Tim Robbins' character kind of representing that business side, and then you have the various writers that are in this movie representing the creative side, the artistic side. And there's these great scenes where there's this guy, this artist, this writer who has this great idea for a movie, and he has like specific details. It's like, I don't want any stars. I don't want it to be this big Hollywood thing. I want it to be just like basically like an independent film. And in everything in this world, in a capitalist society, in Hollywood specifically, they will take the smallest idea and pump it full of Hollywoodness that the end product is so unrecognizable from the original. The Many Faces is an ongoing abstract ink portrait series that I started many years ago. I release a new face every day, but go to inspireddisorder.com to check them out. So many available.
But as a listener to The Ray Taylor Show, you can save 10% when you use coupon code INSPIRED when you check out. So go to inspireddisorder.com/TMF. That stands for The Many Faces. Go check them out. Browse the entire collection. And when you decide on a piece, or maybe multiple pieces, make sure you use coupon code INSPIRED when you check out, and you'll save 10%. As a big thank you for checking out my work, for collecting my work, and for listening to The Ray Taylor Show. And with that said, let's get back to the show.
But also showing how writers are constantly having to alter their ideas, alter their work in order to accommodate these business people that think they know better. That think that writers in general are worthless, that they could just take stories out of a newspaper and those stories are good enough to build a movie around, which there's definitely movies that feel like studios are doing that. And I think that in a lot of ways ends to, like, it brings the downfall of a lot of studios when they don't. I think there's ebbs and flows. Like right now, we're in an era of studios banking on IP that's pre-existing. Like Disney is obviously Marvel and Star Wars. They're trying to wring every last drop of credibility out of those two franchises, but also regurgitating all of the classic films that Disney is known for, trying to wring all of the money, trying to get all the money, triple dipping into their fan base in order to have these people buy the same story over and over again, just because it's told in a different way. It's live action instead of the classic animated style. It's what every corporation does. They strip out the heart. They strip out the humanity. They exhaust all the artistic creativity that exists within a thing, and just pumps it full of collagen and bullshit, so that it's the most easily consumed thing for the masses. So it's working on a lot of layers, this movie. You know, you got this fun murder mystery. You got this thing where this guy is kind of being fingered for the crime, but not really. Like, he's kind of getting away with it. You're seeing a view of Hollywood. It's a movie about the movie industry, which is always interesting. The way it's told is super interesting. You know, all the fun camera work. The ensemble cast is amazing. I mean, in addition to Tim Robbins and Whoopi Goldberg, there's so many other. Fred Ward is in this, is great. Peter Gallagher is obviously great. Dean Stockwell, R.I.P., is so good in this. Lyle Lovett, the guy that his girlfriend is in this too, or his wife. I don't know if they were married at the time or not, but Julia Roberts is in this movie. This is also the movie that has one thing very much in common with Ocean's 12. The player in Ocean's 12. And I wonder if Ocean's 12 knowingly made the element of Tess playing Julia Roberts and Bruce Willis playing Bruce Willis in a movie. Like, if they took that idea from this movie, because both Julia Roberts and Bruce Willis are in this movie basically playing themselves. They're like actors in a movie within the movie. The movie that started off being this artistic, independent type of film with no stars ended up getting injected with all the Hollywood bullshit, with Bruce Willis and Julia Roberts being the stars, the two big stars of the movie. But they're the stars. They are playing themselves, acting in this movie within the movie. So it's the second movie where not only Julia Roberts plays Julia Roberts, well, she's playing somebody that's pretending to be Julia Roberts. So maybe, whatever. Maybe it doesn't hold up as a comparison. But Bruce Willis is playing Bruce Willis, and they're both in it, which is crazy. It's like the very end of this movie, like kind of towards the end credits. And then the writer who's threatening the life of the player, Tim Robbins, ends up writing a script based on Tim Robbins' character, basically, like the studio executive that kills somebody. So it's also has the vibes of Charlie Kaufman films, how that meta context, that like adaptation, where it's like it's almost writing himself into the story. Although the writer who's threatening Tim Robbins is kind of, you never really see him. You get to hear his voice when they talk on the phone, and obviously you get to see all the postcards. But a very similar type of thing to adaptation, where the events end up being put into the movie that's being written, that eventually will become this movie thing that ends up being starring anyway. So I love all of that stuff. Like, every aspect of that stuff is great.
Join Inspired Disorder Plus today. Head on over to inspireddisorder.com/plus to join. Membership includes members-only discounts and deals. You get access to the Ray Taylor Show completely ad-free, as well as bonus episodes. You get access to the complete live painting archive. You also get access to every single podcast ever produced by Inspired Disorder, hosted by Ray Taylor. You get access to Ray Taylor's personal blog, as well as the opportunity to ask me any questions. So if you want to start a podcast, you're into art, ask me anything. And so many more things are being added every day to Inspired Disorder Plus. So sign up today, become a member, head on over to inspireddisorder.com/plus and become an Inspired Disorder Plus member today.
Let's see if there's anything else. Yeah. I'll eliminate writers to just save money, because, of course, business people, instead of paying for talent, they'd rather cut talent and just save money. Low overhead is more valuable to them than original ideas. But yeah, overall, I thought it was a really great movie. Great writing, great directing. All the performances are a lot of fun. Whoopi Goldberg plays a great detective who knows Tim Robbins' character is guilty. Like, she just smells it all over him. But, he ends up, their witness doesn't really help out. So she can't get her man. But she's great as a cop in this. Just overall, a really fun movie. I really recommend watching it. I watched it on the Criterion app streaming, but it's also available probably HBO. I think HBO Max. A lot of the times Criterion movies are on there, so it's available both spots. Either way, it's a great movie. This one came out in 1992. It's just over 2 hours long, 2 hours and 4 minutes long. Vincent D'Onofrio is in this. Young Vincent D'Onofrio, too. Great. Jeremy Piven. A lot of people. But yeah, a lot of fun. Fun, like, kind of a mystery movie where, like, I mean, he's a smarmy. Tim Robbins' character is not like a good guy. So, you want him to get his comeuppance, and the movie doesn't allow you to. It's one of those anti-heroes where it's just like justice will not be served. But in the end, it kind of, he gets away with it, but also it's, in a way, the worst thing he's ever done in his life is now going to be immortalized in film. But nobody knows it but him. I'm sure there's Hollywood lore of things that are similar to that have actually happened. But yeah, The Player, a lot of fun, just clearly a masterpiece. just a fairly simple story, but like all of the camera work and all of these conversation, it feels so much like as the viewer, you are just like a fly on the wall, and you're kind of floating through different conversations, seeing what's going on, while paying attention to what's going on specifically with this one character. So I enjoyed it a lot. Check it out if you haven't seen it, and if you have, check it out again. It's a great one. I wouldn't necessarily call it a Whoopi Goldberg film, but I'm glad that it motivated me to watch this movie that's been on my list for a while. So yeah. Anyway, Robert Altman's The Player. Check it out.
New episodes of The Ray Taylor Show come out every single day. Subscribe on YouTube and everywhere our podcasts are found. Binge the full week over at inspireddisorder.com/plus. Buy Ray Taylor Show merch over at inspireddisorder.com. And follow the show on Instagram at Ray Taylor Show. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Peace out!
Today is the day where you wake up and you realize that everything that you've been dreaming about, everything that you've been wanting, every goal and wish and hope that you've ever had can become real. Dreams can come true. What you manifest in your mind, you can bring to reality.